Alright everyone, welcome to Lamp and Light Tuesday. So for this month, September, we've touched on loving God. That was our theme. So we had our first session on loving God, and last week we treated God's love language. And for those two previous sessions, we've touched on so many key things that we ought to apply in terms of expressing our love towards God. And for today, we are touching on something very foundational that every Christian should be able to apply. Be it you being a new convert or someone that has been in the faith for years now. So for today's session, we are touching on what to do when you find it difficult to express your love towards God, or what to do when you find it hard to love God. Let's get into today's session. Have you ever gotten to that point in life where your spiritual life seems to be a roller coaster ride? You're on top of your spiritual game one day, and the other you are down on a low valley. Or you have thoughts or ideas that begin to battle scriptural instructions in your mind. Or you feel your love for God is not truly deeply rooted in Him how you want it to be. So now I have three solutions here, and the first is one, you checking your association and then your environment. So you begin to have thoughts that battle with the mental construct you have about how you can express your love towards God. One thing that you should check is your environment. Are you keeping friends that are actually quenching your spiritual fire or not? Are you having friends that would encourage you to actually get deeper or intimate with God? Because the Bible tells us that evil communication corrupts good manners. Evil communication corrupts good manners. It's a communication that then corrupts the manners. So you have to understand is that when you find it difficult to actually express your love to God, you have to check your association. You have to check the kind of friends you're keeping, the kind of company you keep, the kind of people you have around you. They should be people that should encourage you to actually get deeper with God. This is when church attendance also comes in. You know, we have to go to church to fellowship together to keep our spiritual favor up and high. Because sometimes, I guess you can go to church and then someone's prayer can also ignite that fire in you to want to pray more. There, you set yourself ablaze and you are taking that same fire home, which affects your intimacy with God, then leading to affecting your love for Him. Because spending time with God is one way that we express or show that we actually love God. Because you can't say you love someone when you don't spend time with them. So moving on to the environment. What kind of movies are you watching? What kind of songs are you listening to? Because as Christians, we always have to be intentional about creating an environment that is conducive for our spiritual man to be able to be sensitive to the Spirit of God. So at all times, the kind of songs we're listening to subconsciously registers in our minds, which also directly affects our thinking and thought patterns. So because one thing that there is, that if you want to love God, you genuinely want to go all out for God, express your love towards God in every single way you can, you always have to be conscious of the association and then the environment you keep. Because these two are very vital and pivotal in affecting our love towards God. So to the next point on what to do when you find it difficult to express your love towards God. You find it difficult, you don't really know what is the obstacle that is stopping you from having that natural drive to love God or want to do His will in any way, is engaging the Holy Spirit. Because when you read Psalm 18 verse 80, it says that we will not go away from you, quicken us and we will call upon your name. So to the last line of this verse, it says, quicken us and we call upon your name. The quickening is actually coming from God, not from you. There are some things that we cannot mechanically generate on our own. We always have to engage or call upon God for supernatural help. Because there are some things that we cannot do on our own. We always have to call on God to help us through. So engage the Holy Spirit. Ask for His help. Because when you find it difficult, He is the right person to put in us that drive, to put in us that innate ability and will to want to love Him. And then to the next point, which is the last one, engage in spiritual exercises such as praying and then reading the scriptures. You know, one thing that there is, reading the scriptures and praying seems so basic to every Christian, but it's one thing that we find difficult to do. Absolutely no one on earth who is a Christian can outgrow reading the scriptures and then praying. And I think I said this in the last session we had, that the more you spend time with God, the more you get to know Him. The more you get to know Him, the more you get to love Him. And it is there obedience becomes a delight. It has become something difficult you to find doing. So then reading the scriptures and then praying is another exercise you can put into practice when you find it difficult to love God. Because like I said, the more we spend time with God, the more we get to know Him. The more we get to know Him, the more we get to love Him. And the objective of this whole session or theme is loving God. Because one thing that there is, the more you spend time with God, the more you get to understand Him, understand His ways and then His personality. So then that will to want to love God is automatically generated. So the bonus point I'd like to put out is this: that probably you are finding it difficult, you're finding it so hard to love God. You've tried every means. But one thing that I want you to have in mind is this: that intimacy in fellowship with God requires time. You have to invest time into it. Probably the love you'd want to have so much for God wouldn't be generated in the first day or first week in putting these points I'm putting out in practice. You have to be consistent. And one thing that I've learned experientially, that the power of prayer and then the word can be seen in its consistency. You just have to continue, put it into practice. Because you have to realize when you plant a seed, it takes continuous watering and exposure to sunlight for it to grow. When you plant a seed and water it day one, you don't expect to see any change. But when you continually water it and expose it to sunlight and then the right environment, it grows. So we have to plant ourselves in a right environment for our love for God to grow. So this also takes time. It takes time to know God, and it will still take time to have that automatically generate innate ability to love God. I hope this series has blessed you so much. Thank you so much for watching. Please share this with your friends and families if this blessed you. See you next month. Soli Deo Gloria. Bye.